Welcome back to the Arcopia Show. Today we are going to talk about peaceful preparedness. So, the peace of mind that a person gets, the more prepared that you get. And some people are different. Some people with just a little bit of food, a little bit of cash out, they feel pretty comfortable. For me, for whatever reason, I don't know if other people are like this, but I needed full blown self reliance, things stocked up, in order for me to have more of a peace of mind. And I can, like, I notice these things in my own head and my own thoughts. I analyze in my own brain, like the psychology that I get the more that I progress. So when you learn some of these things in the world and you decide to become more personally responsible, um, then if you're in the city or don't have a bunch of stuff, I can see how you can get really scared and anxious, because I did way back in the day when I came to the conclusions that I did about some of the things, inevitable things. So no conspiracy theories. We all know all the conspiracies and some are not conspiracies, but, like, I don't know, a solar flare or something. Is that a possibility? Yes, it happened before and took out most of the electrical grid. Could it happen again? It actually is going to happen again at some point. Is our electrical grid hardened? Kinda, not so much, type of thing. Um, that could happen. The poles of the planet shifted a long time ago. Are they going to shift again? Yes, they are. In my lifetime, kids' lifetimes, grandkids' lifetimes, probably not. Could it happen? Yes. Is there anything you can do about it? No. Should you dwell on it and worry about it? No. You prepare for the inevitable things, the things that you just see coming in the future. So maybe you're a super optimist for society as a whole, and there's no need to prepare for anything, right? Society will look after you. Things will be great. I'll get more free goodies, more goodies, less work. Everything is wonderful. Then don't have to be personally responsible, right? Society can look after you. But I don't foresee better times as a whole coming in the future. So whether it's just, well, for me, it's mostly the economic aspect of it, because that it's just it's baked in the cake, inevitable. That's an inevitable situation that you prepare for. And if you prepare for the inevitable, then all of a sudden you become prepared for everything else. So you'll notice that I don't talk, and I try not to talk too much about current events. Um, all other preparedness channels and the mainstream media and stuff. Oh, there's fires. Oh, there's flooding. Oh, there's war. Oh, there's nuclear threats. Oh, there's supply chain. Oh, there's the pandemic. COVID. Uh, I don't care, right? I wake up. It doesn't matter what happens. I wake up and I do the tasks that I planned the night before, anyways, and just move forward, right? I'm unstoppable. Um, it doesn't even barely change my next day. Sometimes some inevitability thing will come up that will, reorganize my priorities that I have, and it maybe pushes something a little forward and pulls something else I'm doing a little bit back. But in general, I just keep doing what I'm doing. So getting myself set up for, the rest of my life. Like, I made a life out of it and I love it. So kind of leaving the system as far as you can, and getting land and having space and living close to nature and relying on yourself. Like, most people can't handle and don't want to handle that responsibility, right? It's like, if you're wondering, why don't people value freedom? like because I place freedom as the highest on the pedestal. It's very, very important to me, freedom. And why don't people like freedom? Well, because to be free, you have to be personally responsible. And most people can't bear the weight on their shoulders of having to rely on themselves to do anything, right? That just sounds like a lot of work. Why doesn't somebody else do the work? But I love it, so I made a life out of it. So every day I wake up and I move forward, and And every day my mindset gets better. I've just never had anxiety problems, but I know what anxiety is. It's fearful for the future. Anxiety goes away. You become more peaceful. So if you're just in an apartment in the city or something, and you have 2 days worth of food, then if something happens, oh geez, you're kind of worried. Whereas if you had 30 days worth of food in your apartment, that changed your mindset a little bit. Oh, well, we can get past this winter storm. Oh, we can, it's fine. I got 30 days worth of food. Or if you have, propane or energy or firewood stored and it gets really cold, it changes your mindset. I have a massive pile of firewood versus I have no firewood at all. Holy cow. I have to do that. And, or if you, multiple times in the last year, the banks went down, one time really bad in Canada, so nobody could use their debit cards or bank machines or get money out or anything. So for that, I mean, if you have a little bit of cash, which is outside of the system, you hold it in your possession, and even better, money, gold and silver, put away, that changes your mindset. That's your nest egg, backup, bailout money type of thing, in case something happens. And somebody that doesn't have any cash and all of a sudden, well, they have literally no cash whatsoever and their bank machine doesn't work. That means you are completely out of commerce for until that system is put back up, right? So just little things like that. But for me, I needed much, much more than that. I needed the self-reliance aspect for the rest of my life, playing a really long game for whatever reason, whatever is in my mind. Because I personally think, like, just moving forward, things in general are going to get worse. But at the same time, what I'm doing, things in general are getting better for me on a micro scale. So you become very peaceful. So, for instance, if there was a fire, wildfire, grass fire, forest fire near me, I built all my buildings. There's no trees or dead grass or grass close to buildings, right? It literally doesn't even affect me. Buildings are covered in tin on the outside, metal. I built mine very strong. They're protected from the wind. When I set up my homestead, I had my construction transit out to make sure water drained. It could literally rain the ocean, and where I built my stuff, the water goes away and none of my stuff floods. Whereas, if there's catastrophic flooding and, lots of neighborhoods in the city that I live in, you talk to the really, really, really old guys, and they used to put on hip waders and up to their chest in water hunting ducks where they built this neighborhood. There's neighborhoods in the city close to me that every house has a sump pump, and all of those sump pumps run quite frequently. So if the electricity stops, that means the whole city block or whole neighborhoods flood out everyone's basement. But, it's so if that's your cup of tea, I mean, that's cool. But you build high efficient houses, or high efficient buildings, so your heating bill, you reduce your costs. So in Europe, if natural gas goes up 10 times, or if it goes up 10 times for natural gas in Canada, I'm still affected, but I'm affected less than other people. My plan to do a solar panel system, grid tie with a partial backup contingency to it, to kind of eliminate our electrical bill. That means, with inflation and the price of things and carbon tax and whatever else they do, like you have to understand, in this system, everything's going to have to go up or it's going to all collapse it's going to be really, really bad either way, which way it goes, but it's going to go up. Uh, like the inflation is going to continue, and that's going to make everything go up. The regulations and the fees and the other things, that's going to go up, and it's going to make everything, commodities and things, everything more expensive. So if you have land and have a garden, and grocery stores are super, super expensive, or they don't have food at all, you have a different mindset. You're not worried and scrambling and panicking like everybody else. But there's things like the war with Russia, and I barely even keep track of it, and I don't want to come across as some guy that, oh, it's all going to be okay, because I know it isn't. Like, but I don't talk about Russia. It's kind of, I don't know if anybody remembers the Cuban Missile Crisis. So Russia kind of went into Cuba and was setting up shop there, which is pretty close to the U.S., and the U.S. was having none of that. So we pushed Russia back and got them kind of away from Cuba because that's too close. Well, now, like Ukraine, NATO's kind of going in there, and some Ukrainians probably want it, and the other half doesn't. Is kind of wants to be sanctioned into Russia or something. Ukraine's kind of like this middleman wasteland place, and like I don't know what NATO has any business being that close to Russia, but it's just like the opposite of the Cuban Missile Crisis. Russia, I don't think, wants the U.S. right on their border with all the silly stuff, bullying that the U.S. does. So now you got, in the U.S., this old man with Alzheimer's and dementia versus, the leader of Russia that's, stubborn type of thing. And both are stubborn. Is there going to be a compromise? Like, no, this is my wasteland, Ukraine, and no, this is mine, or you back off. Well, why should we back off? That's not your country. We can be that close, or whatever stupidity. But the two stubbornnesses, clash, and very dangerous situation for everybody. Now, I look at, I don't have a beef with Russia. I don't have a beef with anybody, really, any country. Um, I view, for the most part, everyone as individuals. That's, I don't know, that's how my mind works. I like individual freedom for everyone. So I have friends and suppliers in China, and I love talking with them. I'll talk to them about the Chinese style greenhouses they build in northern China, and I'm asking them things like they have entire cities of these greenhouses because China's just awesome. Whereas in Canada, it's like me and a handful of maybe some other small guys doing some little tiny projects, right? But in China, it's just like, and I'm asking, like, pesticides and stuff cost a lot of money. So they do organic principles. There's a lot of small farmers. There's like world renowned organic wineries that used to be desert land. These greenhouses are so darn efficient. And I'm asking them what kind of stuff they grow in and what kind of vegetables, what they're typically used for. And it's nice. I just have a conversation with somebody there. On the other hand, I had somebody email me that watched from Russia my greenhouse tours, and they asked me, "Hey Dean, I love that your greenhouse concept and things, and I think this would be beneficial for Russians as well. Would it be okay if I took your videos and translated them to Russian? I won't monetize it or anything. I just think it's beneficial." And I wrote back, "Hey, Russia's like the same type climate type of thing in Canada. It would be extremely beneficial for you guys. Have at her. All the best. Take care, And meanwhile, there's this war going on. Oh, well, what does that have to do with an individual Russian that wants to like build a greenhouse for his family, and me, a Canadian, who wants to build a greenhouse for his family and converse knowledge and, engage together and have conversations? It's, we're just two individuals. There's a threat of the war, but I don't talk about it much. I don't even follow it. Stupid people are going to vote for other stupid people, and those stupid people that shouldn't be leaders are going to clash heads, and stupid things are going to happen obviously. So you just kind of leave and do what you can. And I'm at peace with that. I don't, it doesn't even enter, it's not even a worry, right? I've had other comments on the YouTube thing. That greenhouse is cool, but what if there's a nuclear winter? And I'm like, well, if there's a nuclear winter, then I guess whoever has freeze dried food and commodity grains and things stored are going to eat until they die at a later age. And those who do not are just going to die much sooner. Am I worried about a nuclear winter blocking out the sun of my greenhouse? It's like, if that happens, then we don't grow food outside either. Like, am I worried about that? No, it's out of my control. I can't handle it. I'm at peace with it, right? Is the economy going to collapse either by everything going down the responsible way into like the worst depression that humanity has ever seen, or is it going to almost hyperinflate or eventually hyperinflate? And I think it's going to hyperinflate, but those are the only two options. There's no real middle ground there. And that's something that I can prepare for. Is the climate going to get, maybe half a degree or 1 degree warmer or 1 degree colder? Possibly. Does it affect me a little bit? Are there things I can do about it? I mean, I built my greenhouse to where the sun is, anyways. So if there's a polar shift and all of a sudden the sun's north, I mean, that's the least of our problems. Like, we're all going to be dead anyways if that happens. So I'm not worried about that, right? And I'm at peace with it. But just coming to peace with, the things in the world and where you're at. I mean, I can have a conversation with anyone or do commerce with anyone. I don't care. I don't discriminate. I don't, if you're a midget or you're 7 feet tall or you have, an outie or an innie organ or your skin color. I do not care. I'm at peace. Just calm. I talk to everybody the same way, but at the same time, with that peace, it's also, you know, Gadsden flag. It's don't tread on me. I have one tattoo, and it's the Gadsden essentially thing. It says liberty or death. Don't tread on me. And that whole thing is the snake is just a peaceful creature minding his own business. And here comes this boot, and he's trying to stomp the snake. And the snake's like trying to be left alone to live in peace. And that boot's getting closer. Well, that snake eventually has had enough, and he turns around and he bites and strangulates that boot, right? And that's kind of my mentality of freedom. Like, leave me alone. Everything's good. I'll treat everybody the same. If you push me too far or aggress upon me, then it's watch out who you cross. I can go from peaceful to no hesitation, scorched earth policy. And I know that about myself because I've mentally prepared as well. And that's something you should do as well. And when you get to that mental level of preparedness, that spiritual preparedness or thought process, it is very, very peaceful. My buddy actually explained that to me. He said we send each other audio messages to avoid texting, just little clips or whatever. And he'll send me one or something, and he said the what do you call it when the voice graphic or whatever, his go up and down, and they're all over the place, and like it's almost like he called it being more emotional. And when I send a message, it doesn't matter if I'm talking about end of days or something happy happened, mine is all equally across. And he said, holy cow, are you like some enlightened one or something? Because it's just a flat bar, the tone of my voice, I don't change it. I literally have so little emotion about things because it's all just understanding things or something. But it's almost like being at peace. I was thinking about what he told me. It's like being at peace in my own head. So if I'm talking about something very emotional, or if I'm talking about something very good or very bad or catastrophic or wonderful or the best thing that ever happened to me or the worst thing that ever happened to me, my tone doesn't really change. And I didn't really realize that and until he mentioned that, and then I thought about it, and it's like, no, I'm actually at peace. So that is great. And that peace came from mental preparedness, really thinking things through, physical preparedness, my whole thing that I'm setting up where I'm very, very resilient. So you have your essentials: food, water, shelter, security. You have some resources outside of the system that you're okay, that allows you to take more risks. And I know what I'm doing. I have a goal and a plan in my life, and I'm going with it, and I'm comfortable with it, and I'm at peace with it. And if anything bad happens, then I kind of know what I have to do, but it's going to be easier for me because I'm prepared, right? Prepared, personally responsible ahead of time. So I'm not reacting. That's why it's called preparing and not reacting, right? You do things ahead of time. And just one more thing, like watch what you're watching, like some of the preparedness channels and information that they call themselves preppers and things. Every little thing that happens in the mainstream media, then shortly after they hammer out a YouTube video and they'll talk about the same thing that happened in the media. And it's like, if you want current events, that's not me right now. I'm not the person going to bring that to you. I've heard a couple times in comments that it's like, what is this, a feel good prepper channel? And it's like, well, maybe it is, right? Like, hopefully, I'm motivating people to save lives of anybody that's interested in listening to someone like me. But yeah, for current events or something, it's like, oh, this just happened. And then every channel's like, oh, just this just happened and stuff. You should do this. And I've been hearing about food shortages for I don't know how long, and supply chain issues for how long, and things. And it's just it starts to annoy me, right? And on the other hand, too, just my level of preparedness, or I don't know, ability to see into the future or something. I've noticed there's a 5 year window between when I think something has to be done and when the general society realizes that it has to be done as well. So that could be investing, that could be, economic things. And I can't believe it takes them 5 years to figure this stuff out until it smacks them in the face. But and when it does, they're like, "Aren't you worried, Dean?" I'm like, "Nah, I was worried 5 years ago. I tried to tell you 5 years ago, and you're like, what are you talking about?" And then it smacks them in the face. It's like, "Aren't you worried, Dean?" It's like, "No, I'm at peace. I took care of the problem 5 years ago before it even happened, and now it's going to be really, really, really hard for you, right? Like whether the food's just really expensive or non-existent. I mean, whatever." I told you, I mean, it's cheap. Rice is cheap. I was at Walmart the other day. I got a 10-pound bag of basmati rice for $10 Canadian. Like, okay, that sounds like a good investment, you know, and most people just don't do that. So when you have those, some resources, some stuff put away, and you're already kind of, you're also like living like we're not completely off grid, but we make sacrifices and try to like reduce. Like I when I build a building, I make sure it's super high efficient so it doesn't come with a huge heating cost and carrying cost. But I build a big greenhouse, but it's super insulated, and then spend a ridiculous amount of time on thermal mass and angles and passive solar concepts because I don't want a big bill. I want to be able to produce without having a big bill. So if I built a big inefficient building that came with a $5,000 a month natural gas bill and a massive electrical bill, that's not fun. Or if I was doing a business and I had to lease a big building that's whatever it is, $10,000 a month for your lease or something, you know, that is like a big burden that forces you and, gives you pressure and things. Whereas I took the slow route to relieve myself of those things. I know what I'm doing, like moving forward. I'm going to do it my next podcast about what industry you should be in. So maybe I'll stop here, but knowing that what we know, or what I know, I guess, you have to change industries, and I'll just leave it at that. Watch my next one. Keep preparing, keep putting stuff away, keep being more self sufficient, keep accumulating resources, and you'll notice that the more that you do, the more you accomplish, the harder you work, the more peaceful that you'll get. And that's from being personally responsible. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.